Welcome to the Hockey Writers Prospect Corner, a show with our top prospects writing crew, bringing you the latest news, analysis, scouting reports, mocks, rankings, and much more. From the World Juniors to the NHL draft floor, from the farm to the NHL, our team covers everything that happens in the world of prospects. So sit back, grab a notebook, and get ready for Prospect Corner.
And welcome back into the Prospect Corner presented by the Hockey Writers. World Juniors is now a week away. I mean, it's just flying. It's coming up. It's coming up really quick. Again, joined by my fellow prospect experts, Peter Baracchini and Greg Boysen. How are you guys doing? We're getting there. We're close.
It's the most wonderful time of the year. Simple as that. I can't wait. The countdown's on. Yeah,
Christmas is coming. Christmas is coming for just Christmas, and then also for hockey fans, Boxing Day is another Christmas for us here. So, we've done some previews. We've talked about a few teams that have, long shots to do anything medal wise, but we're getting into the big guns now. We're going to go with some of the big powers here. First, we're going to talk about the two guys, Sweden and Finland, and dark horse Slovakia. I mean, they're a bit of a dark horse in this one. I mean, they've got some big talent we'll be talking about here, so they may surprise. But we'll talk about a big dog here. I mean, Sweden. This team is loaded offensively. Their defense is pretty good. They've lost a few guys, which we'll talk about, but I mean, this team is going to contend with Canada, with US offensively. So they may even be in the gold medal game. We will see. But let's start with Sweden here and talk about a couple guys that were a bit of a surprise that they're on the team. I mean, Eklund was a big, pretty sure that he was going to be there, but they got Alexander Holtz. I mean, this guy was, and he's been in the NHL. He's played for New Jersey. He's been in the AHL for the Utica Comets. Let's talk about these two. Does this boost, having these two big guns, does this boost their chances of, redeeming themselves from last year? Peter, do you think this is the time? I mean, have usually done really well in the round robin, but playoff rounds, they always seem to have problems. Do these two being on the team at what the level they've both been in the NHL this year already, does this change their fortunes?
Yeah, it seemed like last year their misfortunes of, not doing so well in the elimination stages caught up to them. And I think right now they need to try and make a massive turn and try to figure out how to get over that hump or get out of, that bad losing streak, so to speak. And yeah, they got two really great early Christmas presents in William Eklund and Alexander Holtz. And I mean, how does this not change the narrative of them trying to redeem themselves last year? I mean, yeah, they don't have Lucas Raymond. They don't have some of the other talent that they had up front, but they still have quality forwards. They have Theodor Niederbach. They have Oscar Olofsson up front. They have Fabian Lizell. They have Daniel Torgerson. So they got depth up front to try and match the offense and try to fill up holes from where they lost last year. But you got to look at Eklund and Holtz as the ones leading the charge right now. William Eklund had 4 points in 9 games with San Jose, already 5 assists and 9 games with Djurgården since coming over. And then you have Alexander Holtz, who's been up and down with the New Jersey Devils, 2 assists this year in 6 games. 6 goals and 10 points in 11 games with the Utica Comets. That was a big shocker to try and see him, or when they loaned him to Sweden, because everyone thought that Eklund had the better of the chance. They didn't know if the Devils would release Holtz, and lo and behold, they did. So this really does change things. This really makes them a more offensive lethal team up front. And you have to think that they're going to be on the top line. Eklund as a center and Alexander Holtz as the winger. And that's going to complement both of them, because William Eklund is that, smart two-way playmaking center and winger that has the awareness to find anybody on the ice. And Holtz has got an incredible shot that if he just rips it on net, it's going to find its way in the back of the net. So the fact that you have those two right now as a a chunk of your first line. You could insert anyone else on there. You could insert Lizelle, you could insert Olofsson. Anybody on that other wing is going to work wonders, because this is going to be a very dominant duo and possibly dominant top line for Sweden. And that's going to be a big factor for them going forward.
Yeah, Lysell is he was really good in the under 18s too. So he was probably their best forward, if so I mean, that line, even if whoever's on that line, yeah, like you said, they're going to score goals. So it's going to be exciting to watch. I mean, Sweden's probably they were a big favorite before having Holtz added. So I mean, they're just even better. But let's talk about the defense now. They have lost a couple guys, Tobias Bjornfort, Victor Soderstrom, and Philip Broberg, but they got Simon Edvinsson. I mean, this guy's been dominant in the Swedish Hockey League. He's Detroit Red Wings prospect. Of course, Greg will go to you. We always love asking about Detroit Red Wings. So, how much of an impact will he have on this team? As probably playing a lot for Sweden.
Yeah, here we go again, making me talk about Red Wings prospects. You guys are getting coal in your stockings this year, but he's definitely going to be one of the top guys to watch. It's his first World Junior, but he's got plenty of international experience. He's dominated at all the other levels he's played at, so I don't really see that being a big deal. But you mentioned the three guys that Sweden is missed from last year, but they pump out defensemen in Sweden, like they pump out, cheap nightstands at IKEA. I mean, they're always there. They've got plenty of guys to slide right in and perform. Edvinsson, obviously, he's going to be, one of the top guys at his size, 6'5", and can skate well. He's got reach, and it's going to help big time in this tournament, playing against, a lot smaller competition. He's technically sound. He seems to always be in the right position, and then he uses his big frame and his big reach to just prevent scoring chances. So he's going to be great. I have little doubt about that. He's going to use this stage to shine and show, people that's kind of doubted why he was taken so high, that they're wrong. But he's going to have plenty of help. I mean, you've got Emil Andrea. He's going to be back. He's probably going to be their top offensive defenseman. He's a Flyers prospect. So that's going to take some pressure off of Edvinsson. They've got a couple other second-round picks in Helga Grans and William Wallander. So they've got a lot of guys that have got experience, have got talent. So it's not just up to Simon Edvinsson to be, to carry the entire load for the Swedish defense. They're so deep. You talked about their depth up front, but they're deep on the blue line as well. And it could be one of those things where it's just, depending on the game, they've got plenty of guys, different guys to step up and be, they can have a different hero defensively in each game. And that's what makes them a favorite heading into the tournament. And we'll continue with our Swedish talk. We'll throw one to Matthew here. Forwards, defensemen. Got to talk about the goaltenders, and Sweden may have the best one in the entire tournament. Of course, we're talking about Jesper Wallstedt, a name you've heard numerous times here on Prospect Corner. Is this going to be the tournament where Wallstedt just announces his arrival to the rest of the hockey world and just puts up insane numbers? What do you think, Matt?
Well, I mean, like we said, we've talked about this guy at length, in our draft coverage and in our prospect coverage this year. I mean, he's putting in the same numbers in the Swedish Hockey League. He's going to come to the World Juniors, and he's going to announce himself as the best goaltender in this tournament. I mean, we talked about the other goaltenders in our other previous shows, but he's going to be the reason that Sweden wins a medal. If they win a medal, he's going to be one of the reasons that they do. It's going to be hard to score on. I mean, this team can score already. They got good defense. They're going to have a goaltender that teams are just going to have a heck of a time putting the puck in on. So, I mean, we talked about his athleticism, his positioning, his maturity as what his age is right now too. I mean, his mental fortitude. I mean, this guy, he's probably in the NHL pretty soon here. And, and be pretty good. So this World Juniors, he's got a chance to show that he can be the guy that can win a medal and break this, somewhat of an interesting streak of why this team can't do anything in the playoffs, in the playoff round. So yeah, I have no doubt that this will be a tournament that he's going to be the name that everyone's going to be watching and seeing perform at a high level, because I think he's already at close to an NHL goaltender. So I mean, Minnesota, like we said in the past, Minnesota got a steal. I mean, nothing against Sebastian Cossa, but Wallstedt is the real deal. I think he's going to be really good in this tournament. So it's going to be really fun to watch. That's all goaltending, forwards, defense. Let's finish this talk off with this quick fire round. Sweden will make the gold medal game if. Peter, what do you think?
Sweden will make the gold medal game if they find a way to just put their woes behind them in the medal round. Again, we talked about at the top of the show how last year, we see them make it to the semis and bronze medal games and everything like that. But this is the first time where we saw them get bowed out in the quarterfinals, and that's a disappointing result. So obviously with this roster, with the returning players that they have, with some new additions, with Jesper Wallstedt in that, they got depth. This is a team that has the potential to make it to the gold medal game. So if they find their game, they're firing on all cylinders. They're getting offense from everyone, defense, wherever, all four offensive lines. If they got everything going for them, they will make it to the gold medal game. But they got to figure out how to maybe get that mentality in the right mindset, because obviously that's going to weigh on them quite a bit. We've seen that in the NHL with the Maple Leafs in their first round exits. It's all a mental aspect. They need to focus. They need to dial in. And hopefully they're able to turn the tides and prove everyone wrong that last year was just a very big fluke.
Yeah. So, I mean, Greg, Sweden will make the gold medal game if. Finish that sentence.
Their top stars play like top stars. All the guys we just mentioned, Eklund, Holtz, Edvinsson, Andrea, Wallstedt, they live up to their hype. They live up and play to their capabilities. This could be a tough team to beat. Disappointment from last year, we talked about it. It's time to put up or shut up. If those top players play like the top players they are and they're out for redemption, watch out.
Yeah.
What say you, Matt?
I agree. I mean, they'll make the gold medal game if everyone plays to their potential. And they got so much weapons on all aspects, defense, forwards, goaltending. They got everything, really. I mean, you look at it on paper, they're right there. I mean, and looking at gold medal contenders, they should be there. But it's interesting to see over the last few years why they can't seem to get it done at a time where you think, why can't their talent get them there? But just for whatever reason, someone, usually Finland, gets in their way. So it's we'll talk about them next. But they'll make the gold medal game if everyone plays to their capabilities, like we both said. So all three of us are in agreement with that. So we'll see what happens. It's going to be interesting to watch, and they're going to be a fun team to watch regardless. So let's go to one of their bigger rivals, Finland. They've met a few times in the medal rounds in tournament play, of course. They're like Canada, US. I mean, if they're together, they're the big rivalry. So let's talk about them right now. Of course, we've talked about in the past. They don't have Anton Lundell. He's starring for the Florida Panthers. But they do got a guy that just returned from injury just in time for the World Juniors, and Joakim Kemell. I mean, this guy's skilled beyond belief, really. I mean, he's probably a top 5 pick. Greg, we'll go to you on this one. Is there a lot of pressure on his shoulders at this age? And can he handle this pressure? Because he's arguably one of their best players.
Oh, for sure. And I'm really looking forward to seeing him play. I have only really I've never seen him live. I've only seen his highlight packages and stuff like that. So I'm looking forward to him out there because, he's one of those guys that is, the race for the second overall pick after Shane Wright at this draft. And a big performance here could go a long way in making that possible. He's got 12 goals, 18 points in 21 games playing, for Liga in Finland's top league. For a teenager to put up those kind of numbers in a European pro league is really impressive. So if he can handle the quote unquote pressure of doing that, honestly, I don't think there's a ton of pressure on him coming into this tournament because he doesn't have to be this guy, the guy. There's so much offensive talent that Finland has right now. They got a lot of guys who are coming back, who have that experience. So I don't think he needs to be the top guy. I mean, you look at some of their other forwards. You got the two Samus in Tuulamala and Salminen. You've got Ete Ratu supposed to be back, and Ville Kovinen, Ronnie Hirvonen. I mean, Hirvonen will probably be the top, forward this draft or this tournament. They got a ton of talent up front. So he's just like an extra cherry on top of the sundae at this point. So I don't think there's a ton of pressure on him. And even if there was, I don't see any reason why he couldn't handle it and perform. I think this is going to be, he's going to be motivated. Obviously, Finland loves the international stage. They love the World Juniors. They always seem to just strive and play great at this level, at this tournament. So pressure or no pressure, this is going to be his coming out party. And I think he's going to be one of the names that comes out of this tournament that if you weren't high on him before, you're probably going to be in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, I talked about him on Howlers and Growlers, and this guy's a pretty high end talent. I mean, he's like every Finnish player. He's one of the better two-way guys too. So he's gonna have. I don't think. Yeah, like I agree with you. I don't think he's gonna have a lot of pressure on his shoulders because I mean, there's a lot of other veterans, more veteran than him on this team that were there last year, and I think he's just to be able to do his thing and showcase what he can do. Like I said, he hasn't gotten any, since he came back from injury, he hasn't been much of a producer for his Finnish team. But I mean, this is as good a time as any to break out again. So we'll see what happens. He's a heck of a talent, though. But like I just said, aside from Kemell, they still got a lot of depth in forward. I mean, Hervonen, Jarventai, Sami Helenis, Kasper Simon-Taival. Peter, do you think this group can get it done? They got enough depth. Do they have enough depth to compete with the big guys?
Yeah. Unfortunately for Finland, Greg Aturatsi tested positive for COVID and he wasn't able to go. And I believe Tuomala and Salminen weren't even on their roster. But either way, they got extremely great depth. And you just mentioned all those names, Matt, that those guys are returning players and they're going to be leaned on heavily to carry the offense. And especially Ronnie Hirvonen, who at the summer showcase this past summer scored 8 goals for Finland and 10 points in 6 games. So you can rest assured that he's going to be the one to try and find the back of the net. Kind of a slower start than usual than what we've seen in the past, especially this year in Finland. Still good production, 16 points in 28 games, but the shot is still there and he could find the back of the net, and that's going to be a good thing. And we've seen Finland play in the past. They're a very pesky, in your face group that just loves to just get under your skin. And that kind of play from Hirvonen, Hellenius, Simon-Taival, they're going to be in your face. They're going to be in on the forecheck. They're going to be digging for that puck, and they got the speed to do it. They're going to be major factors. And let's not forget that, they also have another draft eligible prospect in Brad Lambert, and he's not getting much attention because he's just not doing a whole lot right now. And there was questions that maybe his spot on the team was kind of in doubt or in jeopardy. And now he has a chance to try and get back into the good graces of scouts and other teams and try to show his skill set, because he's got great poise. He's got great confidence, speed, hands. He is an ideal offensive threat, and we're just not seeing that. He just hasn't put that together. If he has a good tournament, he could be one of the go-to guys. And we're also talking about Ville Koivunen. There's another name right there that I was really high on during the NHL draft this past year. So a lot of great prospects and a lot of great players to lead the charge up front. It's just a matter of the consistency being there, and especially for Brad Lambert in his case. And also, Matt, jumping to you right now, kind of the same thing that what we talked about with Sweden and goaltending. It's always crucial, and especially if they're going up against their rival Sweden, who they got knocked out by, or Finland knocked out last year. But they don't have a Jesper Wallstedt. And although they have Joel Blomqvist and some other great names at the second and third position, are they going to be in tough to try and make their way through in the later rounds with Blomqvist in net, or is this something like where we're going to see with Russia where they're going to have to rely on their defense if all else fails on the back of the net? But considering their defensive depth, Finland has better names than Russia. So is this a similar situation to them?
Well, like you said, Blomqvist is no Jesper Wallstedt, Sebastian Cossa, those names. He's not at that level, but I mean, he's a solid prospect, drafted by the Pittsburgh Penguins. He's good. He's good technically. He's a solid goaltender, but he's not going to wow you like a Wallstedt will. But, I think Finland has enough defensive depth, and, their forwards are always great two-way players, and their system really works to kind of protect that goaltending. But, in the past, we've seen why Finland succeeds is sometimes because of their goaltending, names like Tuukka Rask. I mean, that time they won a medal was because of him. So, I mean, in the end, it's going to be, I think the team is going to have to be a team effort, because I think Blomqvist can get it done, but he's not going to be a guy that's like, well, he's not a superstar. He's not going to carry the team. Nothing against him. He's just not at that level. I mean, as a goaltender, he just doesn't have the same attributes. But he's still got, like I say, he's still got the technical game. He's great athletically. He can make those spectacular saves, but I feel he's not at the level that can carry a team to a gold medal or 10 medals. But if the team around him is solid, any goaltender can be good. We've seen that in the past with NHL teams. A goaltender is not very good on a team that gives up a lot of chances, but you put him behind a team that has good defense and a good system, all of a sudden they look like a pretty solid goaltender. Look at Cam Talbot in Minnesota. Like, he's in Calgary, he's in Edmonton. He had flashes. He wasn't that good, but he goes to Minnesota. They got a good system. He's good. So, I mean, Blomqvist can be that type of goaltender and, perform at the level, but we'll see, because I think of all the positions, I think for Finland, I think goaltending is where you have some question marks. So we'll see. There is, like you said, there are some other names like Levi Meriläinen. He's going to be the backup. He's got a rookie season going in the OHL. So I think, if Blomqvist does falter, I think he could jump in and maybe be a good solid goaltender as well. So, but yeah, it's going to be ultimately, we'll see what that team does, because I think that's what's going to push them to a medal or not. Right. So we'll see. But yeah, Finland's going to be an interesting country to watch along with Sweden. But let's just reset the show before we get to our last team in this preview. This is, of course, the Prospect Corner presented by the Hockey Writers. If you enjoy the show, make sure you're hitting that like button and the subscribe to the YouTube channel. We've got tons of great shows on the channel. We said in the past, Grindline, Maple Leafs Lounge, Blackhawks Banter, list goes on. We got so much on this channel. Give all of them a view. And of course, throw comments below, because we love talking about, we've got a few comments lately. Someone did comment about Slovakia being the dark horse. You guys are forgetting about it. We're like, well, we're not. We'll talk about them. They may be in a surprise. So I'll get to that. But make sure you're hitting up the hockeywriters.com as well, because there's lots of great content. The World Juniors, we got all the previews. Most of the rosters have been finalized, so we got pieces on those. Some players to watch, stories as well. So lots of great content coming out. And throughout the tournament, there's some player features as well that are been released and will be released. So make sure you're taking a look. So yeah, let's talk about Slovakia. This team is a dark horse. They've got some great talent, and usually Slovakia is a name, a country we kind of forget about in a lot of these tournaments, because they don't have a lot of solid names. But this time they do. They've got some great draft eligibles, guys that played last year. Let's talk about the forwards first. Greg, I mean, how important is it for Slovakia to have a return, have to lead the way by Martin Chromiak, but also there's a new wave of players for Slovakia, like Juraj Slafkovský, Filip Mesar. There's some great names there. Does he have some help this time?
Yeah, I think so. Chromiak is back and he's been playing really good. Peter, you've probably seen a bunch of him. He's in the OHL with Kingston. He's got 13 goals and 32 points in his 23 games there. He's known, he's got a deadly one-timer that he could show off at this tournament and definitely be a weapon. He's also a very good passer. To my count, at least from their preliminary roster, I counted that they have 6 19-year-old forwards returning this year. That's huge. I've mentioned a lot that, experience in this tournament is a big X factor. And then you mentioned the 2 younger guys in Slafkovský and Mesar. Those are both guys who have been climbing up the ratings. Slafkovský is a guy that could be a top 10 pick. And Mesar again is another guy that can go is right now slotting as a first round pick a little later in the round. So those are 2 guys that definitely have the talent, and as 17-year-olds, they're going to look to make a name for themselves. Some scouts have them up higher than others. That's nothing new for this time of year. So there's definitely some potency there if they can, find a way to break through on some of these bigger teams. They're going to have a tough road. They're definitely a dark horse. They're definitely a team that can make a mess of the pool play by beating one of the top teams if they get that chance. They've got some talent up front. They just have to perform. And as I said, those 2 17-year-olds, I think those are going to be the guys to watch out for. They're going to be the make or break on how far Slovakia goes in this tournament. If those guys live up to that first round potential and show that they're definitely worth first round picks, then they could ruin one of the big traditional powers tournament in a hurry.
Yeah, they're definitely a team that's going to be, they could throw a bit of a wrench into a lot of these teams' plans, right? Because they could be looked over a bit because, like they do got some weapons that could surprise. So let's talk about that, some confidence. They do have some confidence. I mean, they won the silver medal, the Hlinka Gretzky tournament with these forwards. Peter, how much confidence do they have? I mean, they're coming in on a high, really.
Yeah, I think that I've said it multiple times, even during that tournament afterwards, like this is the new wave of players to come from Slovakia and make an immediate impact. I know we were all used to Marian Gaborik and all those names that we're so familiar with in the past. Zdeno Chara as well. But this is the next crop. This is the next wave. And this is what hockey fans have been wanting for. They wanted to see more competition and more players be at the forefront. And we're seeing that right now. Just looking at the total point totals from that tournament, I mean, Dalibor Dvorsky, who had 12 in 5 games, was a major standout, and he's not up for the draft next year. But Slafkovský had 9 points in 5 games. Mesar, 8 and 5. The commenter mentioned that Slovakia, we shouldn't sleep on them, and I totally agree. I think this is a team that's going to do some damage, especially if Mesar and Slafkovský continue to be offensive firepowers that they were internationally for them and making impacts on their rosters currently this year. And you got another name like Servac Petrovsky, who's also up for the draft this year. 20 points in 25 games with the Owen Sound attack. That's really great production. So they're going to have a lot of names stand out, a lot of names jumping in. They do have 3 returnees from last year, 2 up front, I believe, or I think maybe it was just Martin Chromiak, but they have also Jakub Demek, Vegas Golden Knights prospect. This is going to be his first time representing them at the U20 tournament. 35 points in 28 games with the Oil Kings. So again, you have some experience, you have some older players, you have the younger players coming in. I think this is a team that could do a lot of damage up front and surprise a lot of teams and throw them off guard. And jumping over to, another name that's going to be in the mix for that next wave, Simon Nemec. I mean, this is a guy that we're all going to keep our eye on, as he's a potential pick that could go anywhere from, top 3, most likely 2 to 10, because Shane Wright's still going to be the number 1. He looked dominant in last year's tournament in his first go around. Matt, do you expect him to take a major step forward? And we've talked about our picks, our potentials for defensemen of the tournament. Can he surprise and be a defenseman of the tournament this year?
Well, 100%. I mean, this guy's one of my favorites coming into this draft. And, he's probably one of the top ranked defensemen coming into this draft. And, it doesn't come along very often for Slovakia, having a top defenseman like that could potentially be a top 5 pick, top 10, he was tournament MVP at the Hlinka Gretzky that won them that silver medal. He was dominant. I mean, he had 6 points in 5 games there. A lot of pundits are saying he is the top ranked, highest ranked defenseman coming to this draft. So, and I agree. I mean, this guy he can do it all. He's probably going to play a ton for Slovakia at this tournament, probably going to be upwards of 30 minutes a game. I mean, he's going to play in all situations. He's a very well-rounded defenseman, great mobility. He can control power play. He can control breakouts. I mean, yeah, he's just probably one of the better defensemen in this draft. And I don't know who else can really touch him right now. I think, there's a lot of, it's not as heavy as last year in the defense. I mean, I think it's more forward heavy this year. So, I mean, he's going to be a top 5 pick, I think. And, he's got, like I say, he's got the great offensive, defensive side of his game, and probably that type of defenseman that could win a Norris Trophy in the future. So, I mean, yeah, there's not much else you could say about him. And he's going to really showcase himself in this tournament because he was good in the last tournament. He's been good in tournaments since. And he's going to be fun to watch. I mean, and he could be one of the reasons why Slovakia does something in this tournament, because he's going to be that controller of from the back end. So we'll see with that. So let's do a quick fire. We just talked about Nemec. Will he be the top defenseman in this tournament? He won MVP in the Hlinka Gretzky. We'll start with you, Greg. Do you think he's going to be the top defenseman? He will be named that at the end of this. So.
I don't know. I don't think he will. I'm not saying he can't, and I'm not going to slam him, but I think it's going to depend on how far Slovakia gets, because unfortunately, a lot of these times, these awards are going to go to guys that get to the medal games or win a medal, and there's going to be some tough competition there. When you just look at, a guy like Owen Power, number 1 draft pick last year, playing for Team Canada, he's going to have a big spotlight on him. The U.S. has guys like Jake Sanderson and Luke Hughes. We talked about Edvinsson earlier. There's going to be guys, top defensemen from these traditional powerhouse, medal favorite teams, where if they perform and get their team a medal, it's going to be tough to do. But it's definitely not impossible. He may be the best defenseman in the tournament, but still not get that award when it's done, if that makes any sense. So if Slovakia comes out and scores a couple of big upsets and gets into the medal round, and he's a big part of that, sure. I just think there's that name recognition may hurt him a little bit.
Yeah. Peter, you agree, or do you think he's got a chance at winning that top defenseman title there?
I would love to see it. I just don't think it's going to be feasible for that to happen, considering, like Greg said, you have Power, you have Nimela, who also won it last year. Luke Hughes, Jake Sanderson, you have household names. And it's not to say that Nemec isn't going to be a household name, but he is a 17-year-old in a 19-year-old tournament. But then again, we've seen stranger things happen in this tournament. Anything is possible and anything can happen. I mean, given the fact that, Trevor Zegras led the tournament in points last year, best forward went to Tim Stützle, and, very, very respectful for him because he wholeheartedly deserves it. So it's possible that a name that's, in the mix can still come in and steal the award. So I would love to see it. I just don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah, I'd love to see him win that. And like you said, stranger things have happened, but yeah, there's just so many other names in this tournament that he may be the top defenseman coming up in this draft, but in this tournament, there's a lot of great defensemen in here. But if they make the medal run and he's a big part of it, he's definitely going to have that. So yeah, we'll see what happens. So that's Finland. That's Slovakia. That's Sweden. Those are the three names. This one, of course, we'll be talking about Canada and the US in the next episode as we get closer to this World Juniors. But, this will be the last time, our prospects of the week, one of the last times of this year. So let's start with you, Peter. Who's your prospect of the week?
I am surprised that he wasn't added onto Team Russia's roster or training camp roster and then come over, as the report said, Matvei Petrov. He is my prospect of the week. 49 points in 29 games. And in his last 4 games, he's had 7 points, 3 goals, 4 assists. I mean, this is a guy who's just been lights out dominant in the OHL, top 3 in scoring, was a 6th round pick in the NHL entry draft. And I had him as sort of like a late second, possibly a player that could have gone earlier on. And we're seeing, again, how he fell that low is beyond me, but we're seeing the benefits of that pick, and the Edmonton Oilers are reaping the rewards for that, considering that he's got a great shot, great awareness, can pass the puck, great awareness. He's got size. He's a full package player that you want to see, and he's not even afraid to, get physical at times as well, to make a hit and get involved in puck battles, get into the dirty areas. He would have been a really great player for Russia, and he would have been a standout forward for them. I know they got so much depth up front, but considering that he was left off and one of the top 3 scorers in the OHL is very surprising, but he's got my nod for top prospect of the week for me.
Yeah, that's so surprising what Russia did there. And I could do a whole segment on that, why Russia left these guys home. I mean, it boggles the mind to me. I mean, you want to put your best team on the ice and you miss it. You forget about a few of your best players. It's interesting, to say the least. So, Greg, who's your prospect of the week?
I'm going to go with a guy that I've gotten to watch in person a lot this year, Jack Drury of now currently the Carolina Hurricanes. He's been coming up a lot lately. He's a 2nd round pick back in 2018. Played a couple years at Harvard, had a really big year before the COVID pause. And then last year spent his season over in Sweden and had 30 points, 10 goals, 30 points in the Swedish league, and then had a huge postseason with 11 points in 14 games for the Lakers over there. And he's played with the Wolves this season, Chicago Wolves, and he's really been coming on of late. He's kind of a slow start to the season. That Wolves team has been their top line has been phenomenal this year. Andrew Podorowski leads the league in scoring, and his line mate CJ Smith was 2nd before they both got called up to the Hurricanes. But he's been coming on. In his last 5 AHL games, he's got 5 goals and 8 points. So he's been stepping up. He's been producing. Even when he wasn't producing points early in the season, he's been a physical player. He's been a key distributor. His progression has been real nice. And I think that's what a lot of Hurricane fans want to see. A guy. It's been 4 years since he's been drafted. They've been taking their time with him, and it's starting to pay off. And the Hurricanes are one of the many teams dealing with COVID issues, and they called up Drury this week. And in fact, they called up the Wolves all their top 5 in scoring all got called up this week. So that, I mean, and then they still won 2 games. They won 11 in a row. So, but Drury got in. He made his NHL debut against the Red Wings and scored his first NHL goal in his first game. So good to see. He's one of those work ethic guys. He rarely takes a shift off. He's been very impressive. So that hard work is paying off, and he got that NHL goal. So we'll see how long he gets to stay up in Carolina. And that's my prospect of the week, Jack Drury.
Yeah, he's been pretty good. So I'm going to go to an Edmonton Oilers prospect, Tyler Tullio, 5th round pick of the Edmonton Oilers back in 2020. And he's been lighting it up recently. He's had a hat trick in his last game. He's got 5 goals in his last 3. So, I mean, he's been lighting it up for the Oshawa Generals there. So, you know, he's got 11 goals, 23 assists for 34 points in 25 games this season. Really well-rounded forward. You know, he can get it done in a multiple of ways. He's got a great defensively. He's one of those high motor work ethic guys too. So, I mean, he really puts everything on the line whenever he gets out on the ice. And I say he's been putting up a lot of good numbers lately. And so, I mean, he's got dual citizenship too. So he's a Canadian and American. So this guy, he's been really good for the Oshawa Generals, and definitely my prospect of the week. And the Edmonton Oilers, we'll see what he can, do in the future, because like I say, the Oilers need all the help they can get in for depth, because like I say, they're top heavy, but they need guys that can actually do stuff in the second, third, and fourth line. So we'll see what he can do, because I think he can be that type of depth forward for the Oilers in the future. But I don't know if his scoring will translate, because a lot of the time these guys, they could put it up in the OHL and the junior leagues, but they can't seem to translate that into the NHL. So, but his work ethic and his attention to detail on every time he's on the ice is sure something that can come, handy in the NHL. So we'll see what happens with him. So that's our prospects of the week this week. We're going to forego it next week because we got Canada and the US. We're going to talk about them at length. Those are 2 big guys. So this is our last one of the year, because the next one we'll have is going to be in the new year. So those 3 are the last of 2021. And it's our second to last show of 2021 as well. We'll be Canada US will be our last show of the year. And our next one will be recorded on New Year's Day. So that's this week's edition of Prospects of the Week as we get closer and closer to the World Juniors. Thank you, Peter and Greg, for joining the show again. And the trio will be back next episode and for future ones as well. So make sure you're hitting the like button, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Make sure you're subscribing to our Morning Skate newsletter that comes out 5 days a week. There's lots of great content there, morningskate.io. We're on Discord as well. We got great discussions going on there every game. Depending on what team you're following, they're there. And of course, there's lots of content on thehockeywriters.com with daily download, tons of content for the World Juniors, all the previews, the rosters, all that stuff. So make sure you bookmark that page, because there's lots of stuff coming out every day. And then, of course, our draft coverage will be starting right after that. So lots of stuff coming up. So, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time on the Prospect Corner.